Hello and welcome to Sim.bc, where it right now is 1:15 in the morning. And, well, because, work and such, it's been like, 2-3 days of work, and I already miss university so goddamn much. It's a pleasure that I'm gonna go back to the autumn. No, but I can just... some jobs you go to and you love them and it's the passion incarnated. You don't know why you've studied your entire life and not just started doing this directly because it's so splendid, it's so perfect, it just fits you so damn fine that you don't even know what you've been doing up until this point in your life. That's great. However, there are also these jobs that you go to and you kind of realize how much you really want to study in order to not work at this job all of your life, right? Sure, it's a good job for gaining some perspectives on reality, right? That, some people work like this and some people like this. And this is a lifestyle that some people really enjoy. This is a lifestyle some people really hate. And you only get that kind of insight from being there. But for me... we can just say that based on the working hours, this is not how I want to work in the future. No, it's not. Anyway, mates. Anyway, that's why we're recording so goddamn late. Thought we were done with all of these things after me being at my dad's place and having to, upload stuff for the entire day because of the limited internet experience. But here we are, and we have to do the best with what we got. Anyway. Today we're going to talk about something that is kind of being a subcontext in many of my videos so far. Especially recently, right? I'd say I'm of course just shooting the breeze, just picking it and ready, but I would say about the last 50 videos I kind of been talking about this quote-unquote issue that I have, and that is diversity. Obviously, I am very pro-diversity. However, I am very against scene diversity. If it's just scene diversity and not existing diversity. And now let me explain. Care to join me for this wide explanation of the the term that I care to use it. Now, diversity, obviously something great, brings with lots of different perspectives that can be taken on a specific problem. However, whilst that is really good, most people, especially I would argue, in the era of political correctness, people tend to see diversity as something that can be physically observed. And whilst this is many times the case, I would argue, it's not always the case that if we bring a group that look very diverse, that will actually represent a diverse group. I know it might sound a bit abstract for the most of you, right? You'll be sitting there and be like, but if they are different, then, if they are diverse, then they are diverse. But what I'm trying to say is that in today's modern society, especially how I would like to view it, right? Where we're very accepting of people's ways. We're not saying that you have to dress like this, you have to be like this in order to be part of a certain group. No, I would argue that you can look however you want to, right? You can dress in whichever style you want to and still be part of whichever group you want to. And that is partially what is making it so hard to actually see diversity just by looking at people. One can even argue, going so far to say that it's actually wrong. Establishing diversity from just looking at people. And I'm on that side. I'm coming down on the side of, if I look at you and I say, here are 10 individuals that I just only seen. I haven't even talked to them. But I'm going to put them together because they seem to make a diverse team. That's me judging them by how they look. And as we all know, you shouldn't judge a book by its cover. And obviously that's the same for people. You shouldn't judge the, degree of diversity that they have, the amount that they diverse or digress from the mean opinion of the group just by looking at them. Why? Because that's ludicrous. Now, I know. Some of you might be saying, but if we have someone who looks like me, who is very much as vanilla as it gets, so to say, in the skin tone, and then we have someone of a darker tone, so to say, like this, for instance. I don't know if that was racially insensitive. I really tried to not make it racially insensitive, but I probably did it in, trying to avoid it. However, if there is someone who is more tan than me, a bit darker skinned than I am, and you say that, oh, those two guys seem to make a very good diverse group because one is tan, one is not. And let's get even further. Let's say, it looks like that guy is from one country and the other guy is from another country. That means that they have different perspectives. Well, yes, if we are from different countries, that does probably provide that we have different perspectives on some different issues. However, in today's very globalized economy, very globalized world, where the internet has been a precursor to the development of this phenomenon, this internationalization and very heavy integration of both people and practice, can we really say that someone comes from a specific country just by looking at them? Now, I would argue no. Some people like me really like that that's a no. Other people dislike that that's a no. No matter, I'd argue, where you come down on this issue, I would go as far as to say it's still kind of a fact. You cannot really judge someone on how they look and say, you're of that nationality, aren't you? Obviously, you can make an educated guess, right? That, well, based on how you look, you should probably be somewhere around the area, in this area of the global map, so to say, from this continent, from this part of a certain continent. But to go as far as to say that, well, you're not. You see what I'm saying? Like, to guess that, are you from this country or whatever? I wouldn't say that's offensive. However, to go as far to say, you are not from this country. Do you see the difference? Guessing where they're from and stating that they cannot obviously not be from here are two very distinctly different things. But still, it's kind of a thing that's happening. People are saying now, well, we need diversity, and diversity must be the thing that we can see, that we can actually. Observe. Observe. So the things that we can see, the things that we can observe, these are the things that make up diversity. However, that is so completely wrong. And I guess that I've kind of made my point already, right? But I need to present another side of this in order to make sure and state why I would argue that this is wrong. And I can't just leave it by, well, this is wrong, that's good and all dandy, I'm out of here, bye! That would be a bit weird now, wouldn't it? However, well, I would argue to be the correct way of stating diversity, the way that I would argue is not utilized as much as it should because it's not as easily commercialized, right? It's not as easy to market existing and real diversity in comparison to observed diversity. There's a very big difference there in their marketing potential. Because if you say, well, here is seen diversity, diversity based on how people look, you can say that, well, we have diversity, we can take a photo of this, we can send it out, people can see that we're diverse, and they would probably be attracted to the company and think that we're a good company. However, this kind of diversity, whilst it's probably saying that you can look a certain way, doesn't really matter. You can dress a certain way, doesn't really matter. And while it's inviting people to both look and dress different, it doesn't bring the most important part of diversity, in my opinion. Sure, seen and observed diversity kind of are good towards society. Integrates people of different shapes, colors, and different dress codes, right? It's integrating all of these things into society based on that, well, we are a company that hires, and if all companies does this, then, well, society probably feels a bit more accepting towards people that look different. And that's all fine, all good, all dandy. As I said, I'm not saying that that's bad. I'm just saying that based on the diversity that I'm thinking about when I'm thinking diversity, because I studied business, I'm thinking intellectual diversity, yeah? Diversity of discussion, diversity of topic to be discussed, diversity of how do we actually attack a problem? How do we go about solving a problem? How do we go about solving an issue? All of these things are probably not solved by observed diversity. Are you seeing what I'm saying here? That seen and observed diversity. The thing says, as I've been saying like 100 times now, different skin tones and different dress codes and different shapes and sizes, different amounts of how fit you are, so to say, based on how many times you go to the gym, or you just have a good, a good metabolism. All of these things are really good when it comes to introducing society to that people can actually look, feel, and behave differently. However, it does not open up the point of intellectual diversity. And I would yet again argue that that is real diversity. Because that's actually something that is going to help the company develop. But it's not as much utilized. And why is this not utilized? Well, it's kind of an easy fix, or not an easy fix, but an easy reason for why. And let me just put it out here, right? How do you market and how do you prove that you have intellectual diversity? I'm waiting. You really can't. Unless someone comes to your company and interact with your staff and they see that, well, all of the people working here are clearly very diverse in their way of thinking, which is, two thumbs fresh. Unless they come to your establishment and do that, it's very hard to show this to other people from for instance, a photo. Because if I'm taking a photo of my staff and everybody tend to look different, it's implied that they also will have some form of intellectual diversity that is significant enough to actually be applied to the company. Now, of course, everybody has different intellectual properties and intellectual diversity to some degree. However, this degree could be significant or not to the business, whilst, they could be all very similar about their own people, But if I take a photo where I have people from all over the globe, that might be showing a very diverse picture. It could also be showing an equally as diverse picture as if I were to take that photo of my staff from one specific city. Just because internationalization has gone so far, or rather has been developing and succeeding so far, I would argue, because I think it's a really positive thing in a really positive manner. That this random pick of people from all over the world could look exactly like your existing work team in a specific city that has just been hiring from said city. Which is not bad. I'm saying that this is good. However, that does not necessarily confirm any form of intellectual or cultural diversity, which is a problem. So, I'm going to wrap this video up without actually confirming anything. No, but what I'm trying to say is that it's more important that you have people who look exactly the same but behave very differently than that you have people who behave exactly the same, just that they look different. And I would argue that in today's state, as of today when making this video and probably uploading it as well, no, of course, given the day that I'm going to upload this video is what I'm trying to say, is that I would argue that most companies goes after seen and observed diversity as a favor to society. Yet again, I can't deny that. But still that they kind of favor this observed diversity instead of intellectual diversity. And when it comes from a business perspective, that's really bad. From a societal perspective, it's really good. From a, what you would say, the average worker's perspective, it's probably indifferent, because I guess that the advancements that intellectual diversity would make in the company would outweigh, or rather would equal, the safety that some people will feel by a observed diversity. Obviously, the mixture is the best, but how do we yet again confirm that both exist? We can only really say that the observed diversity exists, and even that is a big issue if we can really prove it in today's society, especially when it comes to are we equal, if we, like in our distribution of color and dress code and gender, and even if we are we actually, what should we say, divided equally? Is that a good thing to be divided equally? Is it not? Why are we not there yet? If we were there, is that really good? Is that based on a quotation system, or is it based on that the best person actually got the job? And if the best person got the job, how unlikely isn't it that it would be an equal 50-50 split? Not that men, women, and people of different color has a different, what should we say, potential of reaching the same outcome. It's just that how unlikely is it that we pick the exact people who happen to be exactly equally as good at everything, which is kind of the basis for if we got observed diversity to the max, to the end stretch, and we actually had an equal distribution of people, that would probably be the main argument against that achievement. Which is obviously ludicrous in one way, because we shouldn't criticize that, because it's really good for society. It's really good for the people who work there, feel like they're represented, kind of like identity politics. However, yet again, I'm going to take the famous example that I heard a while back. If I'm in a burning building, and there is a fireman, firewoman, whatever you want to say, that comes and tries and save me, I want the person who is best at the job to come and save me, not just John, Anna, or Wana, Muhammad, Abdul. Like, I don't care. I just want the best person at the job. I don't want someone who's been quoted into a system to come and save me, who is not the best at what they do. You see what I'm saying? It's a real problem. And that's probably the best argument against observed diversity. But yet again, observed diversity can be marketed, which is really good for a company image, brand image. Real diversity, as I would like to call it, intellectual diversity, which is really good for the company, is really hard to market. And yet again, that creates kind of an Achilles heel. Anyway, mates, that was everything for today. That was probably a bit abstract to some of you, because I can see that the red thread was probably not covered as well as it could have. That is probably based on that I've been working 8 hours today, and it's the middle of the bloody night, or very early in the morning. Could very well be the case. How nice of me to discuss such a delicate point of view and perspective and discussion point at a time like this. But that's just what we do. Yet again, raw material. I'm not saying this is my definitive point or my definitive perspective or my definitive position in this discussion. So if you have any at all comments of what you think of this discussion, then please leave them in the comment section below. And who knows, I might be swayed, I might not be. Have a nice one, mates. I'll see you tomorrow.